Cool. So modeling for the comic renderer: deep indentation, sharp lines, contrast shapes. One of the things you realize when creating your own materials is that sometimes they look great in one model, but not so great in a different one. We're going to go to modeling here. Let's go ahead and load up this character here. So I'm going to go into edit mode, hit Control N, and we'll go to simple brush, load tool, resources, Z tools, and we're going to grab this testing hero head. Go ahead and drag this out. We got that head loaded. I'm going to go ahead and drag this out, and by default it has the poly paint turned on. So if you want to make it look like this guy, I'm going to basically go change it from this matte cap to our matte cap gray, and then I'm going to subtool here and turn off this little colorize icon here. You can also go down to your colorize menu, which is under poly paint. There we go, and you can just toggle that colorize button on and off. But I would just click this little paintbrush, and now here we have our hero bust head we're going to be doing some tests on. So the head in the image right is a quick Dynamesh sketch that looks all right in matte cap gray, and it seems clean, and the organic shapes have a bit of hard surface around the helmet and the mask here. You can kind of see there's these little pinch lines. It's pretty cool. I took the head and applied one of the matte caps I made, and suddenly it started to look a bit boring. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and apply this material that we loaded up. So let's see if we have that one. I'm going to go to comma key here, material, and is there anything in here that's close? Not really. Let's see if we can't just grab this one here. Let's double click this one. Comic book pastel. We're losing important lines of expression. There's not too much contrast here. So in this one here, I guess we could actually, no, I mean, what you could do is you could actually just copy this image right here and paste it into this texture right here, and that would drive the look. You know what, just for a little bit of fun, let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to go ahead and hit print screen, which is going to bring up green shot, and it's going to be pretty low res, but I think that's okay just for demonstration purposes. So I'm going to take this image right here, and we're going to save as our desktop here. So we'll go to streaming, comic book rendering, and we'll just go ahead and name this test, and let's go ahead and make it a JPEG here. Now if I take this and I go ahead and import a texture test, there we go. So basically this image I just cropped from here is now drawing or just modifying the look of this, so we can kind of just go follow along here. So we're losing some important lines of expression in his face here. And then if you look at this head with the exact same material, it's more detailed and refined. So this one looked a little bit soft. I think this head right here, he already did this. But basically what he's saying is you're going to need more contrast in the shapes here. So if I go from this material back to basic or clay brush, if you have you see how sharp these lines are in his face and how heavy and kind of over sculpted these are. If you go down here to your layers palette here, you can add, if you want to keep your original sculpt that's a little bit softer, you can do that, and then you can just add a layer here and then sculpt on it, and then you can just turn this layer off. So if I add a layer, and it's going to start recording here. So if I go in here and I'm like, you know what, I need more contrast in my shapes, I'm going to hit X to go across that symmetry, and then let's see if we have a morph target assigned. Store morph target. Do we have masking? Yeah, we have masking on here. So if you're trying to sculpt on this guy and he's not letting you do it, just control drag to clear that mask. And there, now we got a layer on here. So now as we're sculpting, we can really just go through here and start modifying. Let's go to preferences, edit, turn off align cursor to surface here, and you're going to see I can go in here even with my Damien standard brush, and I can start adding, whoa, Damien standard, Z intensity is way up there. You know what? Brush, reset all brushes. There we go. Now Damien standard. Much nicer. So now we can, if you want to go in here and just really kind of pump up the jam between all of these lines here. So when you go back to this comic book renderer, you're going to see as we're doing this, we're adding more contrast in the face to kind of get these shapes to pop a little bit. And you can do this while you're comic style rendering. So if you want to see what it's going to look like, you can go in here and just start sculpting in all these changes and holding on shift to smooth, and then, clay brush to kind of maybe build up here. So you can kind of see as we're doing this, the result we're end up getting. So if your face looks a little bit too plain, then go in there and over sculpt it on a layer. And then if we go back here to matte cap gray, where are we at? There we go. Let's go to basic material here. If we're done sculpting this thing, we'll go ahead and turn off recording. And then here we are. Let's go ahead and go to our poly paint here. Go ahead and turn that off. And now we can go ahead and turn off that sculpting that we did. So you're going to see there's our original face and there's our modified face here. And if you don't like those, you can go ahead and just turn those off, and we'll go ahead and just do bake all, and that'll just go back to our normal head here. So let's go back to that comic style renderer here, and we'll go back up here. To upgrade the look of the head, I exaggerated the volumes and indentations a bit more. I also added some alphas and a few lines on the suit. So these, these little details on here on the suit really help kind of sell the shape here. So if you've just got a plain suit right here, see how kind of boring that is? But as soon as you add a little bit of detail in here, it looks like you went in with a pin and, kind of colored in a little bit more detail, and it just gives a little more visual representation to the person looking at this that there's actually volume in these shapes and it's not just flat and boring. We exaggerate the low and high points and increase the normal variation in the model. To take a plane, for instance, if we apply the testing matte cap with a black circle and snap the view to look at the top, we see a plane that's totally black. So let's go ahead and do that. So we get rid of that one. Let's go ahead and do matte cap testing black here. Let's go ahead and load that up. And we'll go ahead and grab a plane here. So we were sculpting on this plane here. So let's go ahead and grab this plane here. And I'm just going to take this undo slider and slide it all the way back. So we're just back at a plane here. And then I'll go ahead and subdivide that a few times. So now it's just pure black, right? So if we go over here with our move tool and we kind of move this up, so now we're getting these normals here. If I go back to our basic material, this is basically all we're doing. Let's go ahead and, you know what? Let's mask this, invert that mask, hit W, and let's pull this out here. And then we can go ahead and smooth. Let's do smooth stronger and kind of soften these transitions a little bit. And then we'll go back to our RGBYK. So there we go. That's all we're creating right here. Now if we subdivide the plane, more faces, more normals, and we pull some faces. So if we drop this resolution down on our object, which is going to be under geometry, and we drop this resolution down, you're going to see this is the resulting mesh. And then as we add more subdivisions, remember the more geometry we have, the smoother those transitions are going to be. And here we are at 4 subdivisions, nice and smooth. The sculpted area have more normals painting in the direction that matches the other point in the image in the matte cap. So if you have a matte cap with an image that has a very thin black outline, like this one here, you'll start to get some black lines within your model. And you also need to carve deep in the model until the normals are almost 90 degrees from the view angle. So let's see, do we have one of those? Testing matte here. I know, well, we'll get to it. Cool. So work on your model as you normally would. Once you're happy with it, do your test cap like we said, and then you can create a layer for your cavities. And then let's go ahead and load up the Kepler model and take a look at him. So we got the Kepler model here, and we'll go to matte cap gray, or we'll do the basic material.